Hi there. In our previous video, we used curves to alter or interact with other curves. In this video, we're going to use some transformation tools to take an existing curve and alter it to make something more interesting or something else out of it. All right, so first off, we're going to start with a few more of our interesting curve tools, and then we're going to alter the shapes we've drawn with them. We're going to start off by saying over here, just underneath our arc tools, we'll find polygon tools. The first one is a polygon from center to radius. I'm just going to illustrate that one really quickly. So as the name would imply, it draws a polygon from the center to the radius, very similar to a circle. But we can define the number of sides for our polygon. So let's just say 6 to start with. And then I'm going to define the center. So I'm going to zoom into there, define the center. And as you see, I draw out, it gives me my polygon. So let's say if I want the radius to be 25 millimeters. I type in 25, and there I have my polygon center to radius. Now I can do the exact same thing, but just change the number of sides to 5. Start from the same point, type in 25, and it gives me the same radius, but a 5-sided shape. Let's do the same thing for an 8-sided shape. 8 from center. You'll also see, because my center snap is on, it'll snap to the center of that polygon to make sure my sides or my centers of my objects align. So I'm going to type in 25 again, and you'll see I get these very interesting polygon shapes. Now let's say I wanted more of these, or let's say I wanted a slightly different one. Under my polygon shapes, you'll see there's a couple of different ways of drawing them, but there's also a center polygon star. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a number of sides, 5-sided star, and I'm going to change just like I did in the previous one. You click on the number of sides, you type in the number you want, and you hit enter. And I'm going to draw from that central point there out, let's say 30 millimeters, and I hit enter. Now it just looks like a 5-sided polygon until you start to drag in. First I define the direction of my star, and then I drag inwards, and that gives me my star shape. But what do I do with just a star? Let's try and make something interesting out of it. I'm going to make an earring. So I'm going to mark that center point there, and I'm going to draw a circle from that, either the center or snapping to my point, out to the widest point there. Now, if I were designing for laser cutting now, and I needed to cut this object there and that object there, they wouldn't really be connected. There would be this part here would fall out, that part there would fall out. It wouldn't be particularly useful. So I need to have these shapes interact a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my transform tools to alter this circle. I'm going to make a slightly bigger copy and a slightly smaller copy. And the tool for that is the offset curve tool. And that, or most of the curve editing tools or altering tools you'll find underneath the fillet tool. And that'll be the offset curve tool. So I'm going to select the offset curve tool, and I'm going to tell it I want to offset it, the distance. Click the word distance, type in 3 and hit enter. Now it says select the curve to offset. So I click on that curve, and now you have the choice between offsetting outwards by moving your cursor out, or offsetting inwards by moving your cursor in. I'm going to move in, and I'm going to move out too. I'm going to click on the curve again and make another bigger copy. I'm going to delete my original version. I don't need that guy anymore. Now I also want to use or get rid of this section and that section. I want this outside perimeter to form part of the inside star, so they're one thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use my trick of selecting everything, and I'm going to say trim, and I'm going to cut there and there, there and there, there and there, there and there, there and there. And now as you see, if I now cut that line out there, this part will fall out, but the star will remain part of the main outside. But they're all still separate parts. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything again, and I'm going to say join. Now it says 10 curves joined into 5 closed curves. That'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this isn't really part of this yet. They're still separate parts. So if I move my design and grab something and move it, I might change the arrangement and thus the size of that. I can join those into a group if I wanted to. But that's usually the last thing I do because it doesn't allow me to edit them separately if they're grouped together. Now, the next step I need to do, if I wanted to create something for laser cutting like I am now, I need to assign colors for this. I specifically assign colors so that the laser cutter knows what to do. So if I select my objects and I look at my object properties tab on side here, I can choose the display color. I'm just going to slide that out a little bit. I can choose the display color for this object. Now, for laser cutting, usually the interior cuts we try and make blue, and the exterior cuts we make green. So I'm going to select all the interior parts, and I'm going to say display color and change that to green. Just for out of interest sake, if you need the RGB codes for this, that would be R0, G0, and R0, B0, and G255. That's the color code for this color green, and that'll work with laser cutting. The outside, well, actually, I messed up. I want to flip these. The inside should be blue, and the outside should be green, because the machines, or our laser cutter specifically, always cuts blue before it cuts green. And the reason for that is because we want to cut these parts out before we cut the outside. In case something goes wrong and moves, the outside's always the last thing we cut. So there we go. That's our design, and it's actually ready to cut now. So I'm going to select that, and now I can click on my group icon. By clicking on group there, they are now unified into one object. They're not joined into one object. They're grouped together as a collection. I can say ungroup, and they're still separate pieces, but they're all closed curves. So that's a way of making sure I don't accidentally move one part in relation to another when that spacing or sizing is critical.